Hello and welcome to the next edition of the BriefingsDirect Voice of the Customer podcast series. I'm Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at Inter Arbor Solutions, your host and moderator for this ongoing discussion on digital transformation success stories. One of the key elements of digital transformation is aligning the core, cloud, and edge via new architectures and efficiencies. Simplicity and needs to satisfy the requirements of both the end user and the IT operators need to be considered. The next BriefingsDirect IT Solutions Ecosystem Profile interview examines how Citrix and Hewlett Packard Enterprise are specifically aligned to help bring such digital transformation benefits to market. To learn more about the venerable and always innovative Citrix HPE partnership, we are now joined by executives from these two key enterprise IT players. Please join me now in welcoming Jim Luna, Senior Director for Global Alliances at Citrix. Welcome, Jim.
Great, thanks.
We're also here with Jeff Carlett. He's Senior Director of Global Alliances at Hewlett Packard Enterprise. Welcome, Jeff.
Yeah, good to see you again, Dana.
Glad to have you back. Jim, what are some of the major trends that are driving the need for innovation around mobile workspaces, and why is that a big solution requirement now for many organizations?
You know, as customers embark through digital transformation, they still want the need to be able to access their apps, their data, their desktops from any device and anywhere. Advent of even 5G wireless, right, network connectivity. All those are allowing customers to be able to get those data and those apps and those desktops from any device as well. So we do see a transformation happening in the marketplace.
Yeah, and I think we're looking at a new age of the workforce coming in. You know, the millenniums, and realize the traditional way of going to your job is totally being changed to be able to be at work anytime, any place, anywhere, and removing the barriers of where work is. I mean, and that is driving us to co-innovate, if you will, to deliver solutions that are going to allow that freedom, if you will, of being more efficient anywhere.
So there's sort of a chicken and egg relationship, if you will. The core, cloud, and edge working in tandem allow for safe, secure, and compliant data and applications activities, and that just encourages people to change their work behaviors to become more productive. It's hard to decide which is leading which.
Well, one of the things we see is traditionally people had a traditional desktop with a set of applications, and they wanted that particular image replicated through their environments. But with the advent of SaaS applications that are more web delivered, now they need more of a central management workspace, if you will, that allows them to work with any type of application, right? And whether that's being delivered locally on premises or whether that's coming through a cloud-based application like a SaaS application, and delivering that unified workspace becomes critical for them, and getting that virtually anywhere.
Great points. You know, we also got the core trends around security, and security, increasingly security of your data and security of the personnel files is another really good driver that's forcing us to do things together to be able to take that work space and have it not sitting vulnerable on a laptop in a Starbucks, but have it sitting back in the comfort and safety of a locked up data center.
And yet people want a simple experience. They don't want a complicated experience as they access their apps and data, right? So simplicity becomes key, and experience becomes key, and choice becomes key as well.
Yeah. On that expectation of simplicity, of the usability, I am the same way. If I find it hard to log into a SharePoint or whatever it is, I just give up and say, well then, okay, I'm not going to be utilizing those services. I mean, it's so easy to just move to the next item on your list rather than spend all your time. So I think, like I said, the millennials, that's an expectation. It's a mandatory requirement, and if we can't deliver that experience to them, others are going to do that.
So we know that the user expectations are higher. They want flexibility. They want to be able to change their behavior to be more productive. And we know that the technologies are there to accomplish a lot of this. So what's holding back organizations' ability to execute on this? What needs to happen, and why are Citrix and HPE together a whole greater than the sum of the parts in helping them execute on this vision? Jim.
Traditionally, there's been complexity of the deployment of the architecture, both on the hardware side as well as on the software side, right? And the things that we're doing together are simplifying that process from a deployment perspective, from a manageability perspective, from a support perspective, right? As well as the other features of experience, security, and choice, right? So we're working to simplify that experience, not in terms of just managing and deploying, but also making sure that that experience by the end user is actually simplified as well.
Jeff, it seems that VDI has been around for a while, virtual desktop infrastructure, but for a while, coming out of the gates, there were issues around network capacity, around certain formats and media that would work or wouldn't work. Isn't it true now that the capacity issues have been largely put to rest, and how does that factor into accelerating adoption?
Yeah, in the 22 years of my IT experience at Compaq and HP, I've seen the processor compute power increase significantly. I've seen the networking, the storage, all flash, and the inhibitors from a technology standpoint are pretty much gone now with the multi-cores and hyper-threads, and the list goes on and on. So it kind of moves the problem point away from the infrastructure into the next big rock that's exposed, as Jim addressed, the complexity. How do you do that and unleash that potential in a manner that is easy to consume? That's the next level.
And one of the other things I think that our partnership allows is that choice that I referred to earlier, right? Because with HPE infrastructure, we have a variety of different choices that are available to customers according to their own requirements. And so we can talk a little bit more about that. But there's choice in terms of the architecture that better suits them for their deployments.
Yeah. We've heard a lot about hyperconverged infrastructure, helping people get to this at a deployment. We've heard about appliances. There's a lot of deployment models that are coming to the fore. Jeff?
Yeah, and you mentioned hyperconverged workspaces. That's why we have come together and we are delivering and offering our Workspace Appliances that we're delivering with Citrix on top of our SimpliVity portfolio. So not only is a customer going to capture the benefit of everything that's gone into our SimpliVity hyperconverged infrastructure, but also going to bring that in and marry it with the world that Citrix can provide from a VDI and from virtual applications and desktops.
I think on the one hand, we're making it easier for established customers to be able to manage their Citrix environments by having a simplified management plane with Citrix Cloud services, but having the security of that data sitting locally on a SimpliVity appliance, right? And that's really good for customers in terms of data governance, data control, data security as well. But there's other architectures as well for other segments like FSI, where we have the trader workstations that provide multi-monitor support, high graphics capability, right, at very high density and at cost benefits to customers as well. So choice is key.
Yeah, and to add on, you mentioned the trader workstation. In the financial services industry, as these traders are executing trades, latency of any trade it's going to immediately eliminate your technology from being used. So very, very strict in requirements around latency or performance, but also security comes into play, cost, space. You need to have the ability of doing this in a very, very rich media environment. Sometimes it's upwards of 6 monitors that have to be patched in this too. And through the capabilities we have coming together, again, bridging together our leading infrastructure with the portfolio that Citrix brings just makes it a magical combination that can be easily deployed, and it works.
Mm-hmm. Now, I mentioned in my setup we want to make this simple for not only the end users but also for the IT operators. One of the things that Citrix has been working on for years is that intelligent network capability where an IT operator can put in requirements around compliance, latency, and have that network fabric react. So tell us a little bit about the network factor and how Citrix is addressing that for simplicity and these powerful requirements.
So a couple of things on that. One is Citrix is moving to a cloud service model where these technologies are available through a cloud control plane, whether that's VDI or gateway as a service or a load balance as a service. All those things can be provisioned from a central plane, but can be delivered on-site, on-prem, onto a customer's device, right? And those are the capabilities that we have with solutions, whether it's on a standard DL380 or whether it's a SimpliVity or whether that's on a Moonshot or a Synergy composable infrastructure. Those architectures can be simply delivered through a cloud service onto HPE infrastructure.
Mm-hmm. Now, we've also been hearing a lot recently about complexity potentially becoming an inhibitor to adoption, perhaps reducing the value of productivity and agility, even adding to costs over time. When we look to the complexity of a hybrid cloud model, not only are we asking folks to implement things like VDI and workspaces, but now they have to make choices about private, public, or some combination. So what is it about the Citrix and HPE alliance that helps people ford that gap between public and private cloud and start making those right decisions?
Well, First off, I would say we are aligned, HPE and Citrix, in our view of how IT and how consumers are going to bridge and use public cloud and public cloud resources. We believe there's a right mix, a hybrid approach where you're going to have on-prem, you're going to have using the cloud. And we have at HPE, we have several tools to help the brokering of what the applications could be brokered from on-prem to off-prem, and we provide that flexibility and choice in an agnostic manner.
And I think we recognize that the world is a hybrid cloud world, right? Granted, the public cloud is out there as well, but that also adds a lot more complexity by the number and choice of public cloud providers. I think that the fact that we're driving hybrid cloud solutions, but we also have value-added services with point next services that allow for incremental services to better define your architecture, better deploy your architecture, and better manage that service. That allows for a better customer experience overall.
Well, not only are we progressing into a hybrid world, but we're also starting to think more about the edge as not just for devices that individuals use, either workers or consumers, but we're thinking about devices, sensors, factory floors. Is this also an area where the alliance between Citrix and HPE can be brought to bear? How do we deal with a more chatty type of traffic, east-west traffic in a LAN that then has to also deal with a cloud network? Let's talk about the Internet of Things as relates to what you guys can do so well.
Yeah, of course. We see an exploding growth at the edge, and we kind of define the edge as anything not in the data center because increasingly more and more of the analytics and the insights will be derived at the edge. And the expectation is, yes, we're already doing a lot with Citrix. We have a very, very major financial institution that has rolled out hundreds of thousands of clients, if you will, using, at the edge and using our technologies together. It's only going to grow, and the requirements are only going to increase from scalability, usability, but we have to do such in a factor. The edge can also be greasy, can be grimy, can be undata centers, so it can be very difficult. So we've got to take into account the environments and make tweaks on the infrastructure and as well as the whole solution stack to ensure that we're catering and providing, again, the expected experience that they're going to have versus any traditional means.
And I think of performance, right? Because as we look at a core to edge, we have a distributed model that allows for that data to sit as close as possible to that end customer and therefore provide the best performance experience. The other piece that I think about is the analytics, right? Can we actually grab the data necessary that's being accessed at that particular point device, transmit that data back, and provide some telemetry to the customer in terms of managing that environment and making that environment even better for the customer. So I think the ability to have in our case, Citrix Analytics service as part of that offering and pull that data and serve that up to the customer in a manner that they're able to manage that environment is a plus.
Well, you took the next question out of my mouth. So after we've established now that the edge is a key, more data at the edge, analytics now becomes an important requirement. We have analytics at the edge. We have analytics in the cloud. We're not just talking about delivering apps. We're talking about first managing data and then taking that data and making it actionable. So let's address also through the lens of the Citrix HPE alliance how intelligence can be delivered perhaps as a service. How does the data and the analysis of that data factor into what you're doing?
Now, I think increasingly we see the shift to consumption-based delivery of IT, and we strongly our Green Lake services offerings provide capabilities for customers to not be mired in needing to maintain and monitor all the infrastructure and application, but actually just consume it on an as-needed basis. So I think that's one key element.
Addressing the data and analytics future?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Citrix is coming out with a Citrix Analytics service, right? And of course, we started that with VDI, but now that is expanding across the entire set of product portfolios from EUM to ShareFile to NetScaler, gateways, load balancers, et cetera, right? And now the idea is to unify all that data so that it's seamless to the customer. Now, that combined with all the analytics data coming out of the infrastructure provides the customer with a really one pane of glass view, if you will.
And let's face it, using the data and analytics and being able to derive insights and more accurate insights will give a competitive leg up to our customers and clients and partners. Those who have a leg up win more, make more money, are more efficient, have happier clients. Therefore, it all comes down to taking advantage, if you will, of the technology and the progress we have and pushing the edge of that envelope, bringing it into a package that delivers insights and business benefit without jacking up the complexity that makes it be a barrier to adoption.
And in many cases, I mean, you're really empowering the customer to have better knowledge about their environment, right? And with better knowledge will come better performance and better manageability overall.
All right, let's look at this now through some use cases and maybe even some examples. Maybe you can name them, maybe you can't. But where are organizations leveraging the HP Citrix Alliance in such a way that we can point to them and say, this is how it works, this is where it's really low-lying fruit for productivity at a scale we haven't seen?
Yeah, well, one would be in engineering design, is that I'd say. Imagine, the amount of horsepower it takes in workstations to do CAD designs, CAM designs, solid model, major computational design elements. To purchase the infrastructure and have it at your desk side can be quite expensive. It can increase risk. Again, back to kind of maintaining that environment. I think we do have offerings out there combined with our Edgeline converged systems and Citrix to provide, if you will, the capabilities of having that experience and the really, really rich graphics and intents. But again, being able to securely have the data and the environment contained somewhere in a more structured, say, data center or data closet environment.
So IP protection, regardless of the richness of the application and the density of the data, it seems like we can really protect just about any form of intellectual property nowadays. Yeah, Jim, how do you view the opportunity to show light or highlight rather use cases that are particularly demonstrative of the alliance between HPE and Citrix?
Yes, absolutely. We talked about the FSI, the financial services segment, a little bit earlier on, but another segment is healthcare, right? Because of HIPAA regulations, Citrix VDI is consumed in many healthcare organizations today, whether it's for large hospitals or clinics, and that's one of the environments where we see an opportunity to really deliver on the power of both HPE and Citrix by allowing for that data to be secured centrally and have it centrally managed, yet providing the performance and the access on any device, whether it's the patient room, the doctor's clinic, et cetera.
All right. Let's look to the future a little bit. There's some products coming out from HPE and OneSphere and OneSphere as a service through the GreenLake hybrid cloud. How does that fit in? So we, again, are trying to head off complexity, make this simple for the IT operators. We want to enable them to go and deliver any app, any data to any device across any network. Why will OneSphere perhaps be another element that bolsters your alliance for your end users?
We are always looking at innovating together and looking at the possibilities and the opportunities for joint work and development, right? OneSphere presents an opportunity where we provide a single pane of glass for customers where they're looking to deploy Citrix workload, whether that be through a central management plane like OneSphere, going onto a public cloud and being able to compare pricing and workloads, et cetera, as well as a hybrid cloud through HPE infrastructure and manage all of that seamless, whether it's in a private hybrid cloud environment or through a public, and provide the analytics that goes all behind that. So we're continuing to look at those solutions that provide innovation for our customers.
Jeff, it seems that the opportunity to manage a multi-cloud world is certainly an attractive opportunity for you going out to alliance partners like Citrix.
Yeah, exactly. That's an expectation of what consumers kind of now and moving into the future are going to have. It's not a one-stop shop. We need to be agnostic. And I think it all comes down to HPE and Citrix are totally aligned to where we see the future going with regards to hybrid cloud. And by first having that commonality of strategy and vision just makes it easy to snap our stuff together and create these solutions and these offers that are delighting our customers.
I think at the end of the day, our mission is to make Citrix hybrid cloud as best as possible on HPE gear and infrastructure, and that's what we aim to deliver for our customers.
And I suppose it's important for us to point out that this isn't a Johnny-come-lately relationship. You all have been working together for some time. A great deal of the install base for Citrix is on HPE kit. So let's maybe look at before we sign off, sort of the legacy and why this is a long-standing and productive relationship.
It's built on 22 years of history between us. And as you mentioned, we've been blessed by customers desiring to land their infrastructure more so on HP, Compaq of the past than others. And that's so we have an installed base out there of customers that have chosen us in the past and continue to use us. So definitely for those customers, we want to provide them a seamless transfer, if you will, and transformation to new generation architectures, new generation capabilities around the workspace. So the natural evolution is there for us to harvest. We just have to do it that it sets their expectation around usability and experience.
You know, a large portion of our customers today run their Citrix VDI environment on HPE infrastructure, and I think that's just a testament to the trust and the collaboration and the partnership, the innovation that we're having together over the years, right? The collaboration between our teams, but as well as the leadership that we have in bringing net new platforms and net new solutions out to the marketplace, and all that lends to a good partnership.
Oh, very good. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. We've been exploring how Citrix and HPE are specifically aligned to help bring digital transformation benefits to the market. And we've learned how aligning the core, cloud, and edge via new architectures and efficiencies is finally being made possible. So please join me in thanking our guests. We've been here with Jim Luna, the Senior Director for Global Alliances at Citrix. Thank you much, Jim.
Great. Good to be here.
And Jeff Carla has been with us. He's the Senior Director for Global Alliances at Hewlett Packard Enterprise. Thanks so much, Jeff.
You bet. Thanks, Dana.
And a big thank you goes to our audience as well for joining us for this BriefingsDirect Voice of the Customer Digital Transformation Success Story discussion. I'm Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at Inter Arbor Solutions, your host for this ongoing series of Hewlett Packard Enterprise-sponsored interviews. Thanks again for listening. Please pass this along to your IT community, and do come back next time.